Welcome back to Wall again. And today I have a very special guest. It is a man who is an expert in all things Britpop, indie, and new wave. It's the one and only Donal Quinn. How are you doing, Donal?
How are you doing, Rob? Brilliant. I'm delighted you're doing this because you have great knowledge on music. So, knowledge is entertainment, so share it.
For sure. Let's first talk about your background. This is your new band, your new project. Do you want to give us
Yeah.
some insights into that?
It's a retro futuristic project called The Vorgs. We have been rehearsing weekly for the past few months,
Cool.
and we have new music coming out over the next few months, and it's amazing.
Brilliant.
I'm very excited about it, and it is coming together very nicely, very, very nicely. So yeah, check it out on Instagram, The Vorgs, and Spotify, the whole lot.
So you obviously had your own solo material, Donald, for the last probably
Yeah,
12 years or so, maybe
yeah.
longer. And you've been putting that out under your own name. And now this is more a band
Just
project.
change it up. Yeah, it's the same kind of idea. I just changed the name basically. The solo work has always kind of been band, has been a band vibe. This is just kind of, changing course slightly, giving it a different sort of title. Yeah, it's just exciting, man. I'm really happy with it and can't wait to get the songs down because they're amazing. I'm
Brilliant.
going to work with the producer I've worked in the past, Tom McFall. He's based in London, and I'm going to get over there now and over the next few months record singles, put them out,
Brilliant. Sounds really good, Donald, yeah.
and
And
yeah,
obviously the drummer in
definitely,
the band is no stranger to this channel. It's Eric, of course, and he comes on to do the Pink Floyd reviews every Friday. So a lot of the viewers are
mm,
familiar with him. Um,
yeah,
And then there's obviously two of my mates from the Pearl Jam tribute band that I'm in, Ledbetter. So there's Marcus on rhythm
yeah,
guitar and Cottle on bass. So you've
yeah.
got a good backline there.
Solid backline. Yeah, Eric's a good friend. We've known him, you know, about a little link here. So we've probably known him around about the time this upcoming reviewed album came out, 2005, 2006.
Yeah, that's
And
great
yeah,
segue.
we've been making music together ever since.
Absolutely.
So a lot of history there.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, so we're going to review this album. It's the debut album by the Arctic Monkeys. It's called Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, and it was released in 2006. So we might actually wind the clock back down to 2006. So
Mm.
2006, I had finished college, graduated. I was looking to get a band together. Obviously, you had started having an interest in music and learning guitar as well at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And we met
And
up, we had a few jams, didn't we?
yeah, we lived very close to each other. We lived a stone's throw away from each other, which was handy.
Yeah.
I'd call down to you, and we would just start learning a few Oasis songs, a few Arctic Monkeys songs, and then we formed a cover band called the Raga Lest We Forget, and had many a great night. Um, the first time I heard the Arctic Monkeys was probably in college as well. And when MTV was, you know, where people discovered music, basically, MTV videos,
MTV2.
the Enemy Awards, MTV2, yeah, the Enemy magazine used to do an awards tour where they'd have like kind of up and coming bands tour around Britain, and MTV2 filmed the Arctic Monkeys set. It was only a short 30-minute set, and it was absolutely amazing. What I remember is that the crowd just were kind of the biggest part. Like, band were obviously amazing and were firing out the singles, but the crowd were almost like the main aspect to that. They were very involved. They were screaming the lyrics back. There was chaos in the crowd, and I think that's kind of what I think about when I think of Arctic Monkeys, the first album, is how the young
Where
people
was
got
that
onto it.
recorded, Donald? Where was that?
That was in Liverpool. That was in Liverpool,
Cool.
and yeah, they were like a band for the people that it wasn't really a record label that sort of broke them or a radio station. It was young people sharing the tracks on I don't know, MP3s and things like that, and just
Yeah.
the MySpace, the dawning of the internet. People started sharing on the internet, and that's how the crowds were so crazy before they even released the album.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think when I think of that album, that's pretty much what comes to mind as how the kind of music industry totally changed from then on.
It was
It's like kind of online sharing.
a complete juxtaposition
Yeah,
of the industry at that point in time. Pun intended, but you're
yeah.
so right because so like anyone who's not familiar, in the late 90s, early 2000s, CD was the predominant format to buy music on. And the record companies got really greedy. And the price of a CD at that time was, anywhere from 15 to 20 euro. And it was just gone crazy. Things had gotten crazy. And there was bands putting out music with a lot of filler. A lot of bands they were
Mm,
produced like they were put together, and the whole aim was to sell CDs, sell records, and then you had the pop side of things, like the Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, all these artists coming out, Spice Girls, and it was all about like just cashing in, and the music got very blasé, the charts got very blasé, and
yeah,
and the whole file sharing thing started coming into play where, as you say, Donald, MySpace was a website where bands could upload their music for free and the fans could, download the music and could hear the band. And the Arctic Monkeys were very much a part of that scene.
yeah,
When they had their original demos recorded on CD, they used to hand out their CDs at their gigs in the early or mid 2000s. And
yeah,
they built a very loyal fan base in the north of England,
yeah,
and that's why I was interested to see where that gig you mentioned was because I've never seen that gig. I must look it up, but obviously
yeah,
Liverpool has a very strong music culture.
yeah,
Manchester has a very strong music culture, and Sheffield as well, which is where the Arctic
yeah.
Monkeys are from. They have a very strong music culture, and they produce a lot of bands who are unique, and
Mm.
they're not polished, like they're not produced bands. They're bands of the people, as you had said.
Hope,
And yeah, this was
humanly,
yeah, like, and even like obviously the 90s scene and the Manchester scene, and
yeah,
Oasis, Happy Monday, Stone Roses, and then like Liverpool had like Cast, and like yeah, you're
yeah,
100% right. Like these bands, like they all came from these cities, working class cities predominantly in England, and they
yeah,
were writing about what they knew about, and that had kind of faded away in the late 90s and early 2000s. But then when the Arctic Monkeys came onto the scene, it was really a breath of fresh air.
yeah.
I remember the first single that I saw from them on MTV2 was the I Bet You Good Look Good on the Dance Floor. And it was
Don't believe the hype.
don't yeah, we're the Arctic Monkeys, don't believe the hype. And then
Yeah,
they just rock into this, and
yeah,
like it's the closest thing to punk rock, you know, probably since the 70s or 80s.
yeah,
The
yeah,
closest to punk rock. They didn't worry about, playing everything perfectly. They didn't worry about everything sounding nice and balanced. This was all about energy and an
yeah,
attitude and just getting out there with your guitars and just doing your thing. And
yeah.
people loved it.
It's a live video.
It's a live
The
video.
video is a live performance, which is unique in itself and captures what you're saying.
Yeah.
Punk, raw, rawness.
Now the Strokes had a kind of that kind of vibe
Mm.
early 2000s. But I think
Yeah.
Strokes, they started off like in the early 2000s with that vibe, but they lost that very quickly. I thought their second album wasn't a patch on their first one.
Okay.
And then they kind of they got a little bit bloated, like they had infighting and other issues, addiction issues and stuff. But
I think I think what happened there was Julian Casablancas had like a strong hold, a strong, tight grip over the whole output of the band for the first two albums, and there was a big kickback within the band because of that. And I suppose I think he kind of, let the control go a little bit, and I think that's where the quality and the output really suffered. You can kind of notice it. You kind of step back, and yeah, I wouldn't rate too much after that. Apart from the new album, the new album is amazing.
okay, I must
But
haven't heard it yet.
yeah. Plus,
Cool.
there was a lot of pressure on the second album.
Yeah, there was. Of course, there was. They were huge.
Yeah.
That was happening. That whole garage rock revival, the White Stripes are probably another band. Early Kings of Leon. That was all happening in the States, but in the UK and Ireland, there was nothing like that. But then the Arctic Monkeys came along and they
Oh,
just totally, put it on the map for all these guitar bands. And it was great to see, and then like as you mentioned when we started our covers band, like obviously Oasis was ingrained in our playing, but like I was just looking through the songs here, like we had three at one point. I think we had three songs from this album on our set list, Donald.
I always looked forward to Fake Tales of San Francisco. It was like, the way, we'd all have our input into what songs we wanted on the set list.
Yes.
And I was like, when this one came up, all right, I said, this is my time now. I'll step forward and do this one.
Yeah.
And loved doing it. That
Yeah.
the riff. There's a few lines in there that are just
Oh,
killer lines that when you say it, when you sing that line, it's like a punchline for a joke. The
yeah.
proof that love's not only blind but deaf. The little story up to it, the build up,
Yeah.
and then basically the punchline. Who it wasn't really done in music for a long time. Maybe the Streets kind of had fun punchlines like that, but no one else really did it. It's just very clever. He just had very clever writing, very clever lyrics, and almost funny as well.
Very much. Yeah. Tongue in
What
cheek.
else, what else did we have in that set list?
We
We
also had
had
we played I
When the
Bet
Sun
You Look
Goes
Good on the
Down.
Dance Floor. That was a very early one that we played.
Yeah,
And then when the sun goes down, I remember we also played a version of that.
yeah,
I think, yeah, but I think, as you say, Fake Tales of San Francisco, that was the one that we had kept through the whole set. Like that was no matter
yeah.
what set, no matter what pub we were playing or Incarnation the band, we always had that song on our set list. I might just run through some of the facts as I always do on these albums. So like
Yeah.
obviously the debut album by the Arctic Monkeys released in 2006. In terms of sales, it went on to sell over 3 million copies worldwide. Now, in my opinion, it's a low number, right, in comparison to a lot of albums I review. But you have to remember, as we talked about, we were in the age of downloads, and it was illegal downloads a lot of the time.
Mm.
Um, so like the popularity of the album didn't necessarily transpose to record sales because we're in a different
Yeah.
era, you know. Um, but then it went seven times platinum in the UK and it went platinum in Australia and the US as well, obviously, and went to number one in four countries: UK, Australia, Ireland, and Scotland. Won a Grammy Award for Best Alternative Album, and I think it won two
Wow.
two Brit Awards as well.
Yeah.
Also won NME Awards. In terms of the album theme, it's kind of a concept album based on, young Northerners and nightlife, pub culture,
Yeah.
romance, that whole sort of thing, and like very well told from that perspective. Like,
Brilliant. Do you know where he got the title from? A novel. and I want to read a little bit here about the novel,
Please do. Yeah.
which might surprise you. The novel's called Saturday Night, Sunday Morning by British author Alan Sillitoe. It was adapted by Sillitoe in the 1960 film of the same name, starring Albert Finney, directed by Carol Rates, and in 1964, get on this, Rob, it was adapted by none other than David Brett.
No
I
way.
know what you're thinking.
I am
I know what
putting
you're
N in
thinking.
there, and you get
Brent Muse, Brent, yeah, pop an N in there, and you're going to get a whole different character. And it gets better as a play for the Nottingham Playhouse with starring Ian McKellen playing one of his first leading roles. Sir Ian, Sir Ian, Sir Ian, wizard, thou shalt not pass. Sir Ian, Sir Ian, Sir Ian.
very good.
I just thought it was kind of,
That's pretty cool.
interesting that stuff about David Brett and Ian McKellen being
Yeah.
involved. But yeah, a little side note there. But that whole book is based on not a young person going out on a Saturday night and what happens the next morning.
Yeah.
And Alex Turner obviously felt that that was a similar theme to what his album was. So we whipped the line out from the book, whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not.
Yeah.
But also, when you look down through what I kind of used to stand out in me as well, he kind of mastered the art, or he kind of introduced the art of the long song title.
Oh
The
yeah.
song titles are so long,
Oh yeah. Um,
which is quite
there's
unique to
one
them.
song title you probably couldn't see for the lights, but you were staring straight at me. So that's the back,
Yeah,
and you can see the titles as you mentioned, Donald. I don't
yeah,
think any of them have one word titles, which is unusual.
no, yeah,
What track is that? Number five. You can see it goes halfway across
right,
the
yeah.
album. So yeah,
I bet you look good in the dance. That's a long enough title.
yeah,
Uh, Perhaps vampires is a bit strong, but dot dot dot. The dot 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 suggesting that
light.
there was
Red light
more to that
indicates
title.
red light indicates doors are secured. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
another language one. So yeah, that's great, Donald. Yeah. So just one or two other little bits about the album. So it was released by Domino Records, who I had personally never heard of. But they're not a big player. Are they independent label? Are they an indie label?
they're an indie label. I think Franz Ferdinand were on them, but
Right.
they, you know, they really kind of put a lot into their band. Not like a big label where they might
Yeah.
have pop artists on that. They really, understand. I think they understand the band, and Arctic Monkeys were quite skeptical of the industry coming into it, and they didn't want to, I suppose, compromise. So
Yeah.
maybe Domino Records understood their vision and what they're about, and they had a lot of control, I suppose, over what they were doing with Domino, suggesting why they might have gone with them rather than a more well-known label.
Are Arctic Monkeys still signed to Domino at the moment, or did they ever sign with a big label?
I don't know. I don't know
Yeah, being
where
interesting.
they're at now.
They don't need a label at this point, but I'm interested to know. So it was produced by Jim Abbas, who again I hadn't really heard, um, and then it was recorded at the Chapel and Two Fly Studios in Sheffield. So all in
Yeah,
all, 40 minutes long, which is the perfect length for an album, and it's 13 tracks. So a lot of quite short songs in here. A lot of songs are 2 to 3,
yeah,
which is to me that's a punk rock
yeah,
thing. That's very much get in, say what you have to say,
definitely.
get out. No point in
Yeah,
messing around. In this
yeah,
one, so production on this, Donald, I think it's very raw. Like they didn't spend too much time polishing this one up.
yeah. Do you know, like, so they production wise, they would have all been in the room. It would have been live takes with, you know, whatever they got down on record. That's what they were going to do live. There's no kind of,
Yeah, they have to be
layering.
able
There's
to
no
play it
kind of,
live.
yeah. There's no kind of, tricks and uh,
Yeah,
production techniques which you might struggle with live. It's as is on the tin.
Yeah,
What I did know, if you're looking at, View from the Afternoon, what I did notice about that is the snare, like the kit, the drum kit sound. He got an amazing sound on the drum kit.
yeah,
Um, and Matt Hellis is a great drummer as well. But
yeah,
like with that first track, The View from the Aft, it's almost like you're in a gym and it's a workout and you're at like kind of, I don't know, a boxing kind of uh class. It's just very kind of very powerful, very just smacks you right in the face, that snare sound.
yeah.
So we
They
got,
spent a lot of
you know,
time on the drums and the vocals, but
yeah,
more time on the drums and the vocals to get them right because obviously they're at the forefront of the mix. The guitars, though, I felt it was very much plug it in, tweak it a little bit. Right, let's go.
yeah. There's
Alex,
no
you're right.
effects.
Jamie, you're left, and that's it. Just crack
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Vocals as well. There's a little bit of the Julian Casablancas distortion on the vocals,
Yeah,
slight distortion. Yeah,
they're not. Yeah, they're not. If
definitely.
like I think it's the closest thing to a punk album in mainstream that you're
Yeah,
gonna. I think it's so raw.
it,
It's all about the energy and the vibe and
yeah.
the
It's 100 miles an hour, Rob, and but they're young as well. It's
yeah.
what are they? They're late teens, early 20s, and yeah, just trying to play as fast. I suppose you can see in the later albums they might have, slowed down a bit and um come at a bit more of a mature kind of approach. But that is just pure youthful energy. It's amazing,
Yeah. Oh,
and they're so tight as well. Like it's really, really tight.
yeah. You could hear they were a well-practiced
And
band. You could definitely hear that.
but they hadn't been like playing instruments that long. I think they only got their instruments after they heard Strokes' first album,
Okay.
2001, 2002, and they formed, not having previously played instruments, they formed the band just based on the fact they wanted to be in a band. So they all picked up an instrument. Helders saying, "All right, what's left?" Drums was left. He'll do that.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
imagine how good, the space of what, 4 years, having just kind of picked up an instrument to be, doing that is just something special or something special, as they would have said.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, yeah,
And it's not just about
amazing how
playing
young they
instruments
were.
either. It's also like the songwriting, the lyrics, the vocals, the phrasing. Like Alex Turner,
Yeah,
like we all know now, he's a genius. But like back then, nobody
yeah,
knew who he was. He had it all to prove.
yeah,
And I think
mm,
this album, he really proved it. He was
yeah,
able to just, as you say, turns of phrase, lyrics, telling a story. Like these guys,
yeah,
like you say, they weren't even 20, and here they are, like their first album, and it's a concept album. And like, right, it's not like it's deep in terms of what they had in terms of their feelings and how the world around them was, living in Sheffield and the mid 2000s growing up and stuff like that there,
yeah,
going out and your experiences. But like this is what they were writing about their experiences, and just to be able
yeah,
to capture that in an album, I think is fantastic because so many bands that's where they'll fall short. They might sound good musically, they might be, good musicians, but are they able to actually put put it into words that mean something to people that's going to translate to the audience, and make it sound.
He-
That's what he has nailed here.
yeah. Definitely connected with people. Didn't people could um relate to it.
Yeah.
Like that was pure. It was just just so relatable. It wasn't niche. Everyone that age could relate to going out. Um, you know, basically all the lyrics. One of the tracks here, Red Light indicates doors secure. He's writing about queuing up for a taxi after a night out.
Yeah.
everyone can relate. Everyone can relate to that.
Well, I think the
I
booklet
bet you look good. I bet you look good on the dance floor. I don't think I've ever seen you on a dance floor, Rob.
you've seen me. Oh, you've seen me on the dance floor. Oh, I can dance. Not very
Yeah,
pretty. I don't
yeah.
look good on the dance floor, that's for sure, Donald. Not like you,
Yeah.
man, with those glasses.
No,
Like you'd be,
no, yeah, no, definitely.
you'd
Pop
be,
these on
be rocking it.
and get my get my moves on. Definitely,
Absolutely.
definitely.
So just it's interesting there you're talking about like the different like getting in a taxi and queuing up for a nightclub, etc. Right? Like this is the booklet. Now, so they obviously
Yeah.
decided we're an online band. So we're not going to put our lyrics into our booklet for our CD, right? We're not going to put our lyrics in.
Mm.
We're not going to put in who plays drums, who plays bass, who plays guitar, who wrote the songs. None of that. We're just going to put in pictures of our mates out and about,
Yeah.
getting ready for a night out, going down to the local shop to get cans, and then, looking at yourself in the mirror. That's their mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's his
It was
name?
very yeah.
You'll know.
Chris McClure,
Chris McClure, yeah. And he's all
brother
on the front,
brother
yeah,
of yes, that is correct.
the back.
Brother of the Reverend John McClure. A little interesting fact here.
Yeah,
Though they are those two brothers, John McClure is with the band Reverend and the Makers,
yeah,
and those they all hung around Sheffield when they were younger. But it was John McClure, that guy's brother, who said to Alex, I've read this, um, just write about what you know.
okay,
And because obviously Alex and everyone else at that time was inspired by the Strokes and kind of, thinking they're in a New York band and trying to write about that.
yeah,
But you're kind of going to be limited with that. So your man John McClure, the Reverend, said, just write about what you know. So that set Alex on that path of kind of, yeah, being more, referential and writing about the ordinary every day and his own life experience. So yeah,
oh, for
but
sure.
basically that
Yeah,
is your man's brother on the
yeah, and like he's
the
through
front cover.
throughout, isn't he? So this is they're at the night out here. They're at the club there. Yeah, that's the same
Yeah,
bloke again. Yeah,
getting more progressively drunker.
getting progressively worse. And here he is from the front cover of the album.
Yeah,
Um, and then as you say, in the taxi on this side here, red light indicates doors are secured. And then
yeah,
we go to the well, it says convenience store, but yeah, so they're looking for cigarettes at the end of the night there or something. But in the car
yeah,
is actually the band. So you've got Jamie Cooks in the front there, looking
yeah,
back. You've got the bassist Andy Nicholson, who no one remembers because he got kicked out of the band after the album was released. So
yeah.
he's here
I've,
on the near side at the back.
yeah,
Middle is Maddie Helders, and the main
yeah.
man, Alex Turner, has his
He's
face.
in the boot, no?
He's turned away from the camera, like he's not.
Yeah.
So his face is
Wow.
nowhere on the album, and then like he's the front man. So very much, anti rock and roll star. You know,
Anti-ist, yeah, very,
establishment.
very, very. He probably wouldn't have gotten away with that were they on a big label.
Yeah, people want it. Yeah, you want to see photos of the band and the songwriting credits, the
Yeah,
production credits, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, none of
yeah,
that here.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
this is the last page. Then it's the morning after, the night before, looking a bit worse for wear. So,
yeah.
um, I thought that was very interesting. Um,
A well-told story.
yeah, like it's interesting that they just didn't put the usual stuff into the album sleeve,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
pretty cool. And then of course the CD itself is an ashtray, which I think is cool.
yeah. It is. They got in a bit of hot water with that,
Really?
but I think that their their product manager said that, you know, no, just like this shows you the negative of, see the state of your man, the front cover. This
Yeah.
shows you the negative effects of smoking and whatever. But there's a great podcast where Andy Nicholson, the bass player,
Yeah.
speaks about
Former.
all of that time. The Michael Anthony, yeah, he speaks about yeah, that whole scenario about him being kind of kicked out of the band, and
Yeah.
which was never spoken about before. They keep everything really, insular and within a tight within their circle. But yeah, he spoke about it, and no, he was very honest about it. But they're still mates to this day. They haven't completely fallen out. But how hard must that have been to
Yeah.
have basically, kind of been in the biggest band in Britain at the time, and then he stepped away from it for a few weeks after a long tour for,
Yeah.
I don't know, family reasons. But I don't think it would have. I don't. He said I don't think it was kind of that big of a deal.
We're running out of time
But
here, so I'm going to have to ask you what's your rating out of 10 for this one?
I've got to say 10.
10 for you.
I've got to say 10. I've got to say 10 out of 10.
Cool. It's a
They're
nine
only
for me,
kind
to
of.
be honest. I think it's a nine.
Is it 9?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you give the extra mark for?
Well, I don't know, is it like the style? I like this type of music, but it's not my favorite type of
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
It can, within the realm of what's actually possible.
Conceivable. What
What's
if they
conceivable?
could? If the album could be, your style of music, but what could be conceived of as being your ideal style of music? Would you have given it a 10?
So what are the options again? Um, do I
I've
like it?
phased you.
Very much so.
I've phased you, mate.
Very
I've
much
phased
so.
you.
To some extent. Not at all.
Not at all. Don't know.
Do I
If
like
you
this
don't know,
album?
wasn't an option.
Very much so. I like this album. Right? There's not
Yeah.
that many get 9 or 10 on my channel.
No,
So yeah,
I
listen.
wouldn't be throw, I wouldn't be throwing out the tens too easily, but there's only probably two albums that I give 10, and that is one.
What's the other?
The Strokes, Is This It?
Is this it?
My
Okay.
two favorite, yeah, two,
I have to
my
come back
two,
on. You might have to go back on
yeah,
the channel and do that one next.
definitely, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Thanks for having me, Rob.
No problem, Donald, and thanks for dialing in. Really appreciate it. Hope you all enjoyed that at
Yeah,
home. And if you
yeah,
haven't already subscribed to the channel, you know what to do. Hit that button. And if you could like, comment, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff helps out the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. I'll leave some links to other videos at the end of this one. If you want to keep watching, please go ahead. And I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye now.